Welcome to the Monday Night Live, everybody. It's Jason here instead of Greg today. Greg is out, so I am kind of picking it up today. And it's going to run very much the same way. I'm just going to answer as many of your guys' questions as I possibly can. And hopefully we don't run out. I think last week we ran out about 4:30 or so our time. So make sure that if you've got questions, you're putting them in the chat now so we can get them into the queue. And then just know that if you are putting questions in, the queue is going to get pretty long pretty quick. So we might not get to your questions immediately. So let's say hello to some people here in the chat. Richard Hooker was the first person in the chat. He almost always is. Dave DeVore, Hike and Fly, Curtis Warren, Drone Eagle, James Cox, Thumb Drone, Old Deadeye, and OK Boomer. Etort Aerials, good to see ya. Let's see, I think I saw, Minot, our friend. Engineer Drone Services, DSPA, so that is Vic. Who else? Drone Tycoon. Lots of you guys in here that we see all the time. It's good to see that the time change didn't mess a lot of you guys up. It definitely didn't mess me up. We don't have the time change here, so pretty easy. Let's see here. Alrighty. Not as many people in the live today. It doesn't appear as normal. Normally we see more like 150, 200. So we'll get started on the questions then, and make sure that you guys are putting your questions in the chat so we can get this to last as long as possible here.
Jason, it's Ben.
Ben, you have a question.
What do you think the chances are that Greg is currently watching the live?
I am sure that Greg is currently watching the live.
Do you think we'll see a comment from him?
Maybe. Maybe not.
All right, we'll find out.
Maybe not. Well, to get things started here, Jillian from the community says that Q1 photo contests are live in the community. So for those of you guys who are part of the Pilot Institute community, be sure that you go and enter the photo contest and then obviously vote on the photo contest. So Jillian, can you also put in here, how long is the photo contest going to go? So how long do how long do folks have to get those pictures in there? All right, first question up. Hockey fan 124. Do you think the Avata 360 stacks up well against the anti-gravity A1 360 drone? Honestly, I haven't gotten my hands on either. We haven't gotten to see either of them here at Pilot Institute just yet. We're supposed to be getting an Avata 360 at some point. We'll have to see. My bet is that the Avata 360 weighs more. It looks like it's about 400 grams versus the anti-gravity is about 249. So I think that the Avata 360 is going to have more processing power because of that. DJI is also known for making drones that work. And that's no hit against anti-gravity or, Insta360. But this is kind of their first foray into the drone world, whereas I think that the Avata is going to fly just like every other Avata. And that the system is going to be polished because 99% of the time when DJI releases something, it's polished. So it'll be interesting. We will hopefully be able to get both and do a side-by-side comparison, but I don't know. I don't have the answer for you immediately. I haven't gotten to play with either. Next up, Etort Aerials. You guys ever use B&H? Yes. Probably more than Greg wants to admit, we use B&H for everything. Not just drones, but a lot of the camera gear that you don't see because it's behind the camera. What do I need to do to get my commercial license for drones, even though I was a licensed pilot GA? So Joseph, are you a current pilot still? Because if you are a current pilot, you can take ALC 515, I believe. Yeah, 515. And then you can take that and get a CFI sign off. Again, if you are current, so you need a BFR. And then you just get the certificate immediately. If you're not current, you have to go the same route as everybody else. So I would recommend taking a course. The regs are different, and some of the things we care about with airspace is a bit different. And then take the written exam. So You could just take the written exam. You could probably pass, but if you want to do it right, I would recommend at least brushing up on the regs and seeing what's different there. Let's see. I am leaving CVG tomorrow for Daytona Beach. I plan to leave goggles and take 2 batteries in my pack. Will it be an issue? TSA says carry 1 and under 50%. I am good. I'll be honest with you. I've never had, that's not true. I've had issues one time flying with FPV stuff, and it was not the goggles that they were really concerned about. It was actually the sharp blades on my 5-inch drone. Otherwise, we travel with stuff all the time. So I don't think you'll have any problems. Make sure to carry it on. Never check batteries. It's a bad idea. If the battery, lights on fire or something and it's underneath the plane, then nobody can access it. So just a dangerous situation there. I would definitely carry them on, but I don't think you'll have any problem with it. And to go along with that, in the instance that I did have an issue with the blades on my drone, I had 6S batteries for my FPV drone with me, and that was not the concern. So I don't think you'll have any problem with the batteries. Drone Tycoon, I noticed the Avata 360 is 400 grams. If you add AC light, that puts it over 400 grams. Would you not be able to get a OOP waiver? Would you recommend selling the Avata 2 and buying the Avata 360? These are questions that I cannot answer for certain because I haven't gotten one yet. We pretty commonly use the Firehouse Minis or even the real small ones, the maybe micros. And I think they're like 6 grams, 8 grams. So remember that it's not 400 grams for the waiver. It's 0.88 pounds, right? All of the regs for the US is done in pounds. So I don't know if that is the perfect, conversion there from grams to pounds. I know that for 0.55 pounds, it's 249.4 grams. So if you're under 249, then that's good. But if you're at 250, then you're not. So, and then along with that, would you recommend selling the Avata 2 and buying the Avata 360? Not yet. I would wait. I honestly, I think that these are 2 different tools in the toolbox at the moment. But again, I haven't gotten hands-on yet. We haven't been able to test anything out. So I can't tell you for certain to, sell your current drone when this one is announced, but not fully announced yet. So let's see. There you go. Vic said 0.88 pounds is 399.16 grams. So yeah, if it's 400 grams, then it may not even qualify for that OOP waiver. But we'll have to see. Drone Tycoon, is it just me or Neo 2 and 3 goggles is very limited, doesn't do FPV style recording, no bypass obstacle avoidance or pro settings like RC2? I haven't tried the Neo 2 with the N3 goggles, honestly. We've just been using it mostly as a follow drone so far. I have been super busy with trade shows and stuff, and I haven't gotten actually to fly it or try to fly it FPV just yet. But I can tell you that I will probably be trying it with the goggles 3, not the N3, though I'll have to do both now because of your question. But what controller are you using here? Are you using the FPV controller or are you using the motion controller? Both of them should allow you to do some FPV style recording. Guapo Soldier, dumb question. Does anyone happen to know if Contigo has the built tracker? I'm going to guess you mean remote ID, and is Contigo the Specta, or is that the Mini that you mean, or the Specta Air or something like that? But I believe one of them does. You have to check the website. It is UASDOC. I'm going to put a link right here for you. There you go, UASDOC. If it's on that website, when you filter for RID, then it has remote ID built in. If it is not, then it does not. Even if they say it does, if it's not on that website, it's not approved, so it doesn't count. McShaky FPV, do you know if the new 04 VTX has access to the 64 gig memory since the switched recently, or is the firmware limited to 8 gigs still? They changed suppliers requiring the recent firmware update. I don't know, honestly. We have one 04 air unit, but it's not built into anything at the moment. All of the 5-inch that we are flying have 03 still. It's a project that we haven't needed to do and haven't honestly had a ton of free time to do because we've been so busy with other projects. So I unfortunately don't have the answer for you. Guapo Soldier, can you still buy DJI? Yep. If it's on the FCC list, or if it's on the FCC approved list, I should say, now you can continue to purchase it. Now, whether or not you can find stock depends on what retailers you use. So shop around. There are a ton of retailers out there. We always hear it's Amazon or B&H, but those are not the only two. There are several other places that sell exclusively drones or exclusively, just unmanned systems and in general. So make sure that when you are looking at those places, that don't just buy from one necessarily. There are tons of retailers out there. Hey, it's Jacko. Hi, quick question. I previously asked about the Air 3S, and I'm proud to say it is on its way. Are you aware if the Flymore combo with RC2 comes with ND filters? I want to say that it does come with ND filters from DJI. I also want to say that those ND filters are 8, 32, and 128. So you may want a different set of ND filters if you want to have a 16, 32, 64. But that's going to be up to you. Jason, do I get a shirt? I passed my exam with a 90 or better. Congratulations. It's the recurrent, but just saying. Did you take the recurrent exam through the FAA's website? Because if so, you had to get 100%. Everybody has to get 100%. But if you took a written exam as recurrent, then there's a form in the course, and I guess that would technically apply, but you would need to upload your results to that form in the course to get that shirt. So, and if you did take the FAA's online exam where you can't fail it, that does not qualify for the shirt. Sorry. Refresh my memory. How do I renew my Part 107 certificate? You take ALC 677, which is on the FAA safety website. So that is, I'll put a link in the chat for you. I've got one here. There we go. So ALC 677 is the course you take. You, again, have an exam at the end of it, but you can't fail it. In fact, the only way you can fail it is if you let the course time out. And if it times out, you can click right back into it and take it again. It doesn't cost you anything. And you correct your score to 100%. You get a little certificate at the end of it. Print that certificate or keep a digital copy, and that's your proof of currency. So pretty easy. No excuse not to do it. Hey, it's Jacko. Does PI have merch? Yes, we do. Merch is one of the things I don't have a ton of shortcuts for. So maybe if Greg is watching, he can get us a link to some of the merch that we have. We have landing pads. We have Don't Be That Guy shirts. What else do we have? I feel like we've got a couple other things in there, that maybe mugs. But yeah, we do have some merch. And if somebody else, because I don't want to spend the next 5 minutes on my computer, can get us a link, that would be optimal. All right. Could you please clarify VLOS when flying an FPV drone? All right. So without a waiver is what we're going to start with, because you can waive almost anything. Without a waiver, you need to have somebody else, a visual observer, with you when flying your FPV drone. That's it. Your visual observer location depends on which rule set you're following. So under Part 107, that visual observer does not need to be directly next to you. If you're flying under the recreational rules, 44809, they do need to be directly next to you. The specific language is co-located. Either way, without a waiver, you need a visual observer, and that person is there to make sure that you're not flying near anybody, that you're going to hit them, and that if there is other air traffic in the area or other hazards in the area, that you're aware of them. So you are required to have a VL. Now, if you have a Part 107, you can get a waiver to fly without a visual observer, because that is technically beyond visual line of sight, right? So both of these, whether it's waiver or non-waiver, are going to require that you keep the drone at a point where if you take off the goggles, you can see it. So you can't go so far away that you can't see the drone if you take off the goggles. Even if you have that visual observer, you still have to be able to see the drone, have the capability of seeing the drone. So I hope that answers your question. If not, you can either send us an email or ask another one here. Dave DeVore, is it possible to put the Air 3ES into Atti mode to practice flying by the seat of your pants? Nope, it is not. I mean, I guess you could if you turned off the obstacle avoidance and wrapped it in tinfoil, but I would not recommend that because it's going to block not only GPS signals. So, no, there's not a way to put the most common drones, the non-enterprise drones, into Atti mode. I kind of wish that there was, but there is not. Have you ever gotten a waiver for a permanent flight locations from FFA? Negative. So, couple different things here. So waivers are not permanent. They're good for a maximum of 4 years, or you can do them based on the specific operation. So we have gotten 4-year waivers. It is not that difficult to get the maximum of 4 years. We've also gotten a 1 year and then a 2-year subsequent zero grid authorization for the Prescott Valley Civic Center, which is down the road. So it's possible, absolutely. You can get them for an extended period of time. When you go to renew them, super easy. You literally just start up an application, put in the application, I just want to renew this waiver under the same safety mitigations. And so far, it's always come back as an approved, and it's good for another however many years. So the last one we did was for the Prescott Valley Civic Center. That was a zero grid. We did it for 1 year. I asked for another year. They responded with, we're just going to give you 2 more years. Okay, cool. So that authorization is just sitting there, so to speak. We use it when we need it, and when we don't need it, it doesn't really matter. It's still there. Sterling, if a drone has the remote ID capabilities, but not the US standard, why would it be deemed safe to put a module on top of something already broadcasting a signal? Well, I don't know why it wouldn't necessarily be safe. If that signal isn't encoded the right way, then it's white noise to everybody else. So if it is encoded the right way and it's missing things, then that's an issue with the manufacturer, honestly. But I don't know. I'm going to assume that you mean one of the newer DJI drones that we were actually just talking about this with the Flip. But the Flip has remote ID for some countries, but not the US. So in that case, the remote ID is disabled in the US. It does not transmit. And the additional white noise could be negatively impacting your range, but most of the time, I don't think you're going to actually see any of that. Jeff Sav, going over all the quizzes in the course again. Question on drones over a ship, photoing people on the ship. Says you can, as long as all on the ship are notified. Is this considered a moving vehicle? Double check that question. I'm pretty sure that it says you cannot, because that is not in a closed or restricted area. And yes, the ship is considered a moving vehicle. If that question is incorrect, email me, please, and I'll get it fixed. contact@pilotinstitute.com. On the Mini 4 Pro, when you switch back to the smaller battery, the drone stops broadcasting remote ID. Does this mean you can't go back to the smaller batteries? The drone turns off RID with the small battery. So, John, the way that we have been advised to deal with that situation in particular is put your registration stickers on the battery for the large batteries. And then your aircraft, when you want to use the small batteries, you use the small batteries under recreation only if you're Part 107. If you're not Part 107, that's not an issue. But you use the small batteries for recreation only. The large batteries transmit remote ID and are registered. And that aircraft essentially has 2 different configurations. One is compliant with remote ID and registration. The other is not compliant with remote ID. It's not required to be. It's also not compliant with registration, and it's also not required to be. So That's how we've been told by someone at the FAA to deal with that. On a recent trip, I was asked by TSA if I had batteries in my carry-on. I didn't, but their question implied that I couldn't. Yes or no? Yeah, you can carry on batteries. I do all the time. Pretty much any time I travel, I am taking, at the very least, a camera with me or a battery bank with me. Pretty commonly drones and several batteries. So yeah, you can. I've only had issues once when we were traveling back from a show in Texas, and I got stopped at the Austin airport because they did not like the props, the propellers on my 5-inch drone because they said they were too sharp. So I don't know. Jeff Sav, what do you guys know about the Hover Air X1 folding selfie drone? Any good? Haven't gotten my hands on it, honestly, so I can't tell you if it's good or not, and I'm not going to make a speculation on a drone I haven't flown. What is that? Marshaki. As a Part 107 pilot, if I get a second Neo 2 as a backup, do I need to get and register a second remote ID module? Since they are registered by the module serial number, I would never fly both at the same time. Yes, technically you do. Now, if it's just a backup and you do not plan on flying it and you're not going to fly it and you don't fly it, unless that first one goes down, you could just modify the registration of the first one. And that will get you around the $5 fee and the second remote ID module. But currently, the regs are written in such a way that you must have a remote ID module for every aircraft registered separately under Part 107. The Part 108 NPRM proposed changing that so that Part 107 pilots can have a single module for all of their aircraft, which I think that we're all on the same page. That would be good. I don't think this is something the FAA intended when they wrote it that way, but that is what it resulted in. So currently, yes. How much battery does the drone use for broadcasting remote ID? Honestly, I don't think it uses much. And DJI drones have broadcast a form of remote ID since 2015, 2016. And that was discoverable through the Aeroscope system. So it's not something that you've probably ever seen or noticed. And it's been going on, if you fly DJI, probably since you started flying DJI or before that. So I don't think that it uses a noticeable amount of battery. You know, maybe if we're talking in the hours of flight time, you may lose a minute, 2 minutes. But I don't think that it's anything crazy. Let's see. Do you think the RC2 is compatible with the DJI, I'm going to guess, Avata 360? What about the Pro Controller Black? Do you think it will be compatible with others as well from the specs? I'm going to guess that the Avata 360 is going to be compatible with the motion controller and the FPV controller 3. If I had to take a stab in the dark, I think those are the two that it will be compatible with. Maybe the RC2, but I don't see why you would want the RC2 over something like the FPV controller if you're going to be wearing goggles anyway. But again, I could be wrong. I would guess just the motion controller and just the FPV controller. Let me see here. Is it just old stock or is DJI still sending new stock? DJI is still sending new stock as far as I know. I know that some of the resellers that we work with are pretty consistently getting new aircraft and they're selling through the aircraft they have. So I know that there are resellers with pipelines that are, I don't want to say unaffected, but less affected than places like Amazon that doesn't have stock of anything or they have very limited. A Tort Aerials, how is the Avata 360 even getting approved by the FCC? It was approved months ago, actually, November or October, I think it was when we saw it hit the FCC database. So it was already approved prior to all of this, and then the FCC has come in and said everything after that December 23rd date is no longer allowed. So the Cosmo family, I came up with an idea for a magnetic safety net to capture a delivery drone's midair landing Delivery drones at a safe location to prevent a crash. Could this be a good idea if engineered right? I'm not able to visualize exactly what you mean, honestly. I don't see why it couldn't be a good idea if engineered right. But I'm not fully imagining what I think your idea is. So I don't want to say it's a good idea or a bad idea because I'm not sure I'm understanding it. Raw footage. Do you offer a GERT on passing the Part 107? I'm going to guess that's a guarantee. Yes, we have a guarantee on passing the Part 107. If you complete the course, you get 2 practice exams above 80% a few days apart, and you somehow manage to fail the exam, we will give you your money back, plus we will refund the cost of your exam. Now, that does not mean, for anyone watching, go take 1,000 practice exams until you're getting 80%. That is something, in fact, that we advise you not to do throughout the entire course. So if you follow the instructions on the course and you actually do all of those things, you are extremely unlikely to fail. In fact, you're about 9 times more likely to get 100% perfect score than you are to fail. And that includes all of our failures, even the people who did exactly what I tell you not to do. And they went and took those practice exams 10, 15, 20 times until they memorized all of our questions. And then they obviously don't do terribly well in the FA exam because the questions are different. So yes, we offer a guarantee. You won't need it. Just follow the program. Sergio, what are the limitations to waypoint on Air 3S? Trying to get smooth footage, but I get a warning that movement is too large or something of that effect. What does that mean? If you're trying to get smooth footage, you may need to make very, very, very small movements. And I don't remember on the Air 3S if there is a way to record a mission. I know that there is a way to record a mission on the Enterprise drones where you can record a waypoint mission. You basically literally click record, fly whatever you want to fly, and then it saves it. So that is what I'd recommend if you're trying to get nice, smooth, like orbit shots, or select a point of interest so that while your drone is moving, your aircraft is always looking at whatever your point of interest is. Vic says 0.3% failure rate, right? It is 99.9997% pass rate. So what is that? 0.03% failure rate, I think. So yeah, extremely small. Minot says, Jason, have you folks seen any major advancements using UAS vehicles for water safety / rescue? Thanks, Minot. I've seen some folks using them for using aircraft. Like we saw one several months ago. I want to say in like Washington, they used an M30T to drop a life vest to somebody. So I have seen that happen. I don't know how common it is for agencies like that. And I can tell you that, for our search and rescue, when we get a call out, it's not an emergency response, for lack of a better way to say it. We get there as quickly as we can, but we're not authorized to use any sort of lights, sirens, or anything like that. So we go as quickly as we can, legally and safely. And so for true rescues like that, I think that you're going to see those a lot more done by fire departments, like water rescues like that. But it also depends right on the drone. Some departments don't have the budget for those Matrice 30s or the IP rated aircraft. So they're not able to use them for those sorts of missions. But a fun one, speak to the legality of using a Neo 2 in follow mode while operating a bike. Now, do roller skates, Heelys, any moving vehicle is what you're trying to say? So the regs, I'm gonna guess that you mean the Part 107 regs. The regs say that you must be able to direct the drone, not that you must manually fly it the whole time. You must be able to direct the drone. And the Neo 2 has that fun feature where you can reach out, put your hand out, and then move it. I would argue that is the ability to direct the drone. So I don't see, as long as you maintain all of your other rules, why this would be not allowed under Part 107. Under the recreational rules, there is not any that come to mind that say like you must direct the drone. So I don't think that there's any issue with that under the recreational rules either, honestly. Obviously, just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you should. Critically think about your operation and what you plan to do. But I don't think that there's any legal issue with using the Neo 2 in follow mode or any other DJI in follow mode, honestly, as long as it's done, with common sense. Max Roth Fitness, how do I get a zero grid long-term waiver? I need one for work. So that is a application process. Personally, I like old school. I always go through the drone zone for our applications. I never go through LAANC. That's what I was taught when I was a student ages ago, and that is what's always worked for me. So go through the drone zone is my recommendation. And you need to determine what hazards exist around your area. Why is it zero grid? Is it zero grid because you're 100 yards from the airport, like the runway? You're going to have more tough time there. Our zero grid down in Prescott Valley is because of a nearby hospital, and there's a helipad at that hospital. So we're aware of that. We're also 1,000 feet from there. So we're right at kind of the edge of the zero grid. And so for us, we needed to say, we're aware of the hospital. We will monitor the control tower frequencies and the CTAF when control tower is not operational. If there is a helicopter inbound or is observed to be near our operation at low altitude, we will land and wait for that helicopter to pass or land before we send the drone back up. It's all about staying out of the way of other aircraft. So you're going to have to know what's in your area nearby and put all of that into your application, basically saying, I understand the risks, I understand the airspace, I know what's going on, and here's how I plan to steer clear of those other aircraft. Sergio Mendoza, can I still purchase 04 Pros and have them shipped into the USA? You can try. They are FCC approved, so you can use them here legally. The question is, are they going to get caught by Customs and Border Protection and held up? I've heard less of that in the last 30 days, I would say, but I'm sure that it's still an issue in some places. A Tort Aerials, if I'm a nice guy, do I qualify for a free t-shirt? That's a question for Greg. I don't give stuff away for free, sorry. It's above my pay grade. Drone Tycoon, how long can you store a DJI battery when it is new without activating it and without charging? So I would take a look at your user manual. See what it says in there. A lot of the DJI user manuals say don't store these batteries for more than 6 months without charging it and then discharging it. So I can tell you that for my Phantom 4 Pro, I still have 5 batteries for it. I have to take those out every 3 months, I believe. Yeah, 90 days is how long those batteries are good for storage. And I fly all 4 or 5 of those batteries every 90 days. Charge them up, fly them down to 0, recharge them to storage. That's what the manual says. That's how I'm going to get the most life out of those batteries, even though I'm really not flying that drone a whole lot anymore. But it's going to depend on your drone. If your manual says store those batteries for up to a year at 60%, then great. But make sure that after that year, you charge it up, you discharge it, and you charge it back to storage. Do I have any updates on the DJI ban? Not at this time. We haven't seen anything that is terribly groundbreaking or new or anything like that. So I haven't seen anything today. We've been super busy recording courses today. Tina Anderson, does the Mini 3 Pro stop broadcasting on the non-plus battery? Mini 3 Pro. No, it does not. The Mini 3 Pro transmits remote ID at all times. So small battery or large battery, you are good to go with the Mini 3 Pro. Now, the Mini 3 and the Mini 4 Pro are different than the Mini 3 Pro. So we have a video about that somewhere else on YouTube that you can check out when we are done here, where we explain all of that. But yes, there is differences there between those 3 different minis. Let's see. Oh, which FPV goggles work with the Air 3S? I don't know off the top of my head. I do not have the chart handy. I believe that it's the N3 and the goggles 3, but I'm not positive on that. Sergio Mendoza, what's the smallest remote ID that you know of, and can it fit into micro drones? Smallest one that I know of is the Drone Tag BS. Without the battery standalone, it is 2 grams, I think. So yes, it will fit in micro drones. I mean, within reason, right? Are you flying a 65 millimeter whoop? Because it's going to add a little bit of weight there because your whoop is a total of what, 25 grams. But yes, it should fit on there. Is there a way to do waypoints on the Mini 4K outside of DJI Fly? I don't know off the top of my head if the Mini 4K has a SDK available. If it does have an SDK available, then yes, you can do waypoints outside of DJI Fly. If it does not, then probably not. Cloud Camper 0, you fly them tomorrow 0. Do you mean the batteries? Do I fly them to 0? No, I don't fly them to 0, but I fly them to somewhere between 10 and 15%. Basically, discharge them as much as I can, and then recharge them. Jonathan, what's the best way to study class of airspace? Well, if you're studying for the Part 107, it's probably our course. We have, like 40 videos on the different airspace classes and then what they look like on charts. And we talk through all of that in the course. So if that's what you're trying to do, I'd recommend doing that. If you just want to brush up on knowledge, we have some videos on both this channel and our airplane channel that talk about airspace. Obviously on the airplane channel, they care about different things versus here on the drone channel. So it really depends on what you're looking for. We've got one more question. So if you guys have questions, you should put them in the chat and then we can get those questions answered. Flying Elvis Filmworks. Is it possible to order a pack of your flyers? The ones you include with the stickers. Every time I'm out flying, I get people asking questions. I try to be a good ambassador and need handouts. Yeah, send us an email. We can get you hooked up with some. We're always happy to send out flyers like that so that we can help the community be good ambassadors. So, why is Jason's mug sponsored by Texas Drone Co? Well, because Texas Drone Co is here. Greg Reverdio 246. All right. Well, we're caught up on questions. So if you've got questions, be sure you guys put them in the chat here. We've got another 20 minutes. And if you're out of questions, that's okay. We can end early. It's been a crazy day already. So let's get those questions going. Where's Ben? He's always got questions. Amy's going to message him and see what he's doing. Let's see. Does Godzilla need a counter UAS license under Safer Skies Act to swat drones out of the sky when he is on the Empire State Building? That depends on if he is not working with the local law enforcement. Are y'all ever looking for artists to design some FPV stuff? What do you mean by design some FPV stuff? Do you mean like frames and stuff? Because we don't sell frames. We don't sell build kits or anything like that. So what do you print out to show that your renewal is active for your Part 107 after your initial grant date expiration happens? So you can print it or you can keep an electronic version. I have both. It's literally just the certificate that has a date on it. And that certificate means that you're current. So as long as it's within the last 24 calendar months, you are good to go there. And that is the certificate from ALC 677, just to be very clear. Aeroscan 3D, when will the thermal classes be available? Stay tuned. Later this year, hopefully. It's been a lot. This year has been very busy so far, and it seems to only be getting busier week after week. So hoping later this year, but we'll see. John, are you aware of the FAA's recent survey of unmanned aircraft systems operators and your thoughts? Yes, I am aware. I filled it out for Pilot Institute. They also emailed me on my personal email account multiple times, and I declined to fill it out there because it would have been a duplication of the exact same thing. So I think that they need to work on the I know Vic is in the chat, and he's also expressed some of this. I think that they need to work on the survey to make it simpler because, it asks for estimates, but then, it seems like it wants very, very specific things, and that's fine. But do you want specifics or do you want estimates, right? So I think that it could be trimmed down a little bit and still get really good info, but I'm also going to fill it out every time that it comes through to us because it's good info for the FAA, and the FAA works off of data. So the more data that we as a community can provide them, the better. That's data in the form of waivers, authorizations, this kind of stuff. So if we want to if you want the FAA to be able to change the rules, they're going to need the data to back up why they're going to change the rules and what they're changing. Does anyone know what flight planning software comes on the DJI RC Plus 2 Enterprise Smart Controller? It is DJI Pilot 2 is the app. It has built-in waypoint missions, area missions, facades, geometrics, and terrain following. It depends on what aircraft you are using with it, on which ones of those you can actually use. So if you have it hooked up to a matrice, you're stuck depending on, if you have it hooked up, oh no, that's the RC, it's the plus one that I'm thinking of. So yeah, you may not get all of the functions there depending on the aircraft and depending on your controller, but it is the Pilot 2 app. How many drones can be covered with the $5 FAA registration fee for recreational pilots? I don't believe that there is any limit there. As many as you want to add. Flying Brian, how close are you on the release of the Neo 2 Deep Dive? Brian, I have spent, except for last week, the previous 4 weeks I traveled every single week. So it's not close at this point, unfortunately. And this week we have a guest instructor all week. So I'm going to be in the field helping out with that. So I can't give you an estimate at this point because it is such a back burner project at the moment, but we are working on it. And I do want it to go out sooner rather than later. So I'm hoping in the next few months, but we haven't even recorded that. So I'm not going to put any pressure on our production team to get it out sooner than, other projects we have in the pipeline. Is the commercial drone business oversaturated, or is there still plenty of work? I think there's still plenty of work. The difference between you and a competitor is whatever you make it. So, just like you could start any other business today. Are there too many bakeries? Are there too many fast food restaurants? Are there too many, theaters? That's dependent on your area. It's dependent on how you're going to differentiate your business from another. What do you know about the new, more powerful battery for the Neo 2? I have not heard of a new, more powerful battery for the Neo 2. If you have and you have a source, please send us an email. I'd love to read into it. Tell us what's in your bag when you go flying. Whew, a lot. Whenever we go flying, we obviously have drone, transmitter, batteries. I personally like a lanyard so that if I can put the lanyard on and have that hold the transmitter. Extra props. We carry a couple that we have. I have a personal radio, and then we have a radio for the studio. I have a landing pad, and then it really just depends on the day. Stuff like sunscreen, cones sometimes, a sun shirt, that kind of stuff. It just really depends. And then extra SD cards. I have SD cards everywhere. I have one in my wallet. I have 2 or 3 in my truck. I have a whole thing of SD cards that I normally keep an extra 1 in every single case for one of my drones. For us here at Pilot Institute, we have a organizer, and I think there's 8 or 10 on it right now. And then we have another 5 or 6 in our battery locker where we keep all the batteries. So it's really going to depend on what your specific mission is. You know, when I go fly for search and rescue, I have all of that stuff. Plus, you know, I have several different types of lights, and I have charging, and, you know, I carry a DJI Power 1000 so that I can, you know, charge on the go. And so there's just a bunch of different things that is dependent on what you may be doing with your mission. Outside of DJI, are there any other manufacturers you can recommend that parallel DJI in capabilities? Capabilities, yes, but not for cost. So important distinction there. Most of the manufacturers have capable aircraft. You're just not going to get a capable aircraft at the, you know, $5,000 price of a Matrice 4E or $6,000 price. You're going to be looking at $30,000 or $40,000 for that aircraft. It's not going to be the same size. It's not going to necessarily have the same user interface or anything of that nature, but it's very capable. So there are several other manufacturers. I mean, I'd recommend checking out Atti. They're still Chinese. They're still on that same list as DJI. Freefly is a good one. We're hopefully going to be able to test out some other aircraft there as well. But it really depends on, you know, your mission. So it totally depends on your mission, honestly. And yes, Vic says capable, but it depends, you know. If you're doing a large area mapping, a Wingtra is going to be just as capable as, you know, a Mavic 3 Enterprise. You're not necessarily going to get all of the others. Yeah, Soten. Soten's an option. I haven't gotten to fly one except 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, it was not one that we wanted to talk about because it was not up to par. So hopefully later this month, I'll get to get hands-on with another Soten. But until then, again, I'm not going to recommend you a drone that I haven't flown. Where do you buy drone tag remote ID from? We buy them from Drone Tag. Just go to the website and order them off their website. I'm thinking about selling my DJI Smart Controller and buying the DJI RC1 for my Air 2S. Do I really need the RC1, or is the Smart Controller still a good idea? Air 2S has a available SDK. Are you planning on using that available SDK? If you are, buy the Smart Controller, not the RC1. If you buy the DJI RC, you cannot install any third-party apps on that transmitter. On the Smart Controller, you can. So if you, say, wanted to get into mapping and you had an Air 2S already, the Smart Controller would be a better choice for you because you can download those apps. If I get LAANC for 100 feet but fly to 200 due to terrain, still keeping the 100 AGL, i.e. flying up a mountainside, would the FAA observe this as a possible violation? No. Your altitude, your LAANC authorization is above the ground. If you ever read your authorization, there's actually a bunch of stuff in there that you have to have in different airspaces. But no, it's above the ground. So when the ground changes, so does your maximum operating altitude. But it's your maximum perceived operating altitude. It can't be added to any buildings or anything like that. But 100 feet above the ground is 100 feet above the ground, whether you're at the bottom of a valley or the top of a mountain. Still 100 feet above the ground. It doesn't give you authorization to 100 feet above a building, structure, a power line, light poles, anything like that. But no, the ground, you're good. If I have LAANC approval from the FAA, do I still need to call ATC when I launch my drone? What is a proper procedure when calling ATC to notify them I am flying my drone? Don't call ATC. That's it. Just file for LAANC, get your approval, fly your drone. Don't call ATC. Unless you have a specific waiver or authorization that says you must coordinate with ATC. You may see this around military bases, is going to be the most common, I think. Unless you have one of those, don't call ATC. Can you and do you recommend pilots learn to fly manual mode / acro? I'm going to say no. I don't think that every pilot needs to know acro mode. And you know, there's going to be pilots that are only pilots for their job. and they're not interested in the fun side. I'm going to call it the fun side of FPV and of these different aircraft. There are going to be pilots who are surveyors. They only want to be a surveyor. They're not interested in the rest of it. They don't need to know acro. They don't. Just like public safety. If public safety is going out, they do not need to know acro. It's okay for them to not know acro. And that's just how it is. You're talking about, spending hours and hours of learning acro. For me, I learned acro over a week, and over 5 days, I broke 4 drones. So, it can be expensive as well. And I don't think it's necessary to be a good pilot. Now, if you're flying, cinema work or chase or anything like that, where, you want to get those close shots, yeah, maybe you should learn acro, but not everybody. Have you guys thought about making a pledge for Do Not Be That Guy? I think it'd be popular and go along with your t-shirts. Well, Greg is in the chat. So Greg, the people want a pledge for Don't Be That Guy. What would you do if a plane flies over 1,500 feet, then returns moments later in your airspace asking for a friend? 1,500 feet, they're no issue. We're almost never flying at 400 feet. So that wouldn't be an issue to me. I would obviously steer clear and keep an eye out for them. But otherwise, I think it's no problem. Are you allowed to modify a Mini 5 Pro to get weight below 249? Yeah, you can. Just know that if anything happens, the FAA is going to come asking, what did you do? Why did you do it? All of that, right? We say this pretty often. Nothing is going to happen unless something happens. So if you give the FAA an excuse to come investigate, they're going to investigate everything. All of your maintenance, all of your modifications, all of that stuff, and you're going to have to justify why you did it. So if you're saying I want to modify a Mini 5 Pro to get under 249 so that I can fly over people, just get the waiver. It's literally 2 questions. It's good for 4 years. Just get the waiver. So that's my opinion. And if you're hoping to get under 249 so that you don't have to equip with remote ID, sorry, it's already equipped with remote ID. It's going to transmit whether you want it to or not. So there you go. Richard Hooker, what's the best part of your job and what's the worst part of your job? Well, Greg is definitely the best part and the worst part. No, I'm kidding. I can't tell you a worst part, honestly. The worst part of my job is that I get to have so much fun. I don't feel like I'm working 99% of the time. The 7th day of Oshkosh, I'm working that day just because it's slow and you're like, oh, I've been in the sun for 7 days. But the best part is I get to go to Oshkosh, I get to go to Sun and Fun. I get to, play with drones and get sent all of these cool aircraft and, get to work in a studio, and it's dream come true, for lack of a better way to put it. I tell people when they ask what I do, I get to play with toys. That's my job. I get paid to play with toys. So is there a way to add my flight data from my old Mavic 2 Pro, accessed through Go4, to my current profile, accessed on my Mavic 4 Pro with DJI Fly? Not anymore, because DJI turned off the servers and the upload function to upload all of your flights and stuff to the cloud. So you can do that into a program like AirData or Aloft, but you're not going to be able to do it all through DJI anymore. Let's see. Can I fly recreational? Is it a good idea to wear yellow-orange safety vests? Would it attract attention or not? It depends, honestly. A lot of people swear by the vests, and if you don't want to be harassed, 99% of the time, if you see somebody wearing a vest and a hard hat, you're not going to go over and talk to them. The other thing is that if you're just in the park having a good time and somebody comes over to you, we've never had a bad experience where we've taken the drone and just shown it to somebody. Just, hey, take a look. Here's what I'm looking at. The people who come over and we think are going to be frustrated, and Bo and I actually just had this last week where we went out to fly, and there was someone there, and we were like, oh boy, I don't know that she's going to be terribly thrilled with us flying here. And the person came over and was immediately excited and wanted to see the drones and all of that. So I think that approaching it the right way is the first step, and trying to show, here show the controller, show what you're doing, explain a little bit about it. As soon as you become an expert in their eyes, then they're no longer worried about it most of the time. You're always going to have those people that hate drones to hate drones, and or want to harass you to harass you. In those instances, I tell them to call the police every single time. If you have a problem, call the police. I'm not going to interact with you. Just call the police. And then, I know I'm flying legally. I can let the police come. I was actually just on the phone with Prescott PD earlier today talking about their drone program. So I'm not worried if the police are coming here because, well, I volunteer for the sheriff's office and we work with all of the local PD. So, make those good connections where you can. So no with goggles, 2 batteries on a plane with goggles. I should be good. Not holding you to it, just asking. You should be good taking your goggles and batteries and drone all on the plane. Just put it all in your carry-on and carry it on. You should have no problem. There's an idea. Don't be that guy, lanyards. Quick, somebody put that in the put that in our ideas chat. For mapping missions with the Mavic 3 Enterprise, what is the optimal size of the SD card to use? 128, 256, other. I use 64s, honestly. If you lose the drone with 128 or 256 gig card and you can't retrieve it, it's a lot of data to lose. So that's my opinion, is smaller cards. If I'm just screwing around and flying my Mini close to me and, like on a hike or something, and I'm not flying it over a cliff, then yeah, I might throw a 128 or 256 in there just so I don't have to worry about, worry about space. But most of the time, we use 64 gig cards as our max here at Pilot Institute. So that's what I'd recommend. How hard is it to get into the film industry to fly a drone? Honestly, I have no idea. I'm not really in the film industry. I am just the guy behind the camera here today. Most of the time, it's even Greg. I'm just the guy behind the camera answering your questions. So I don't know how hard it is to get into the film industry. I would guess it's not easy because it's sought after. So let's see. Any other questions? Vic wants to go to Oshkosh. Whew. Vic, it's hot and it's humid.
You just said that's one of your favorite things.
Well, the first couple of days of Oshkosh are great. By Sunday of Oshkosh, I'm like, get me out of here. It's hot. It's humid. The airplanes are cool, but you're doing this every time the jets fly over. So, all right. I think we are going to wrap it up there. Everybody, thanks for joining in. Greg will be back next week, hopefully. I'm gonna hold him to it. He's gonna be back next week, rain or shine. So, if not, you'll see me again. Hope not, but maybe. All right, everybody. Have a good one. We will see you on Friday for news update.